Let me first of all appreciate our Dean for resuscitating this seminar series, and of course to thank the committee for the faculty for deeming it fit to approve of this presentation. I would also like to say that this paper is a product of IBR, the Tech Fund institution-based research, which I got last year. And so it's a work in progress, and everything here is not the final thing. So contributions would be greatly appreciated. So the title of this paper is Developing Coping Strategies for Survivors of Sexual. In the paper, it was victims of sexual violence, but I've changed it to Developing Coping Strategies for Survivors of Sexual Violence, a design model through histories. First, I'll be defining sexual violence, and I'll give an overview of the aim and objectives of this work. Then I'll review a bit of literature and explain my theoretical framework. Then I'll present the methodology and the data analysis for us to see. Then I'll discuss some findings of the work. Then finally, the interventionist pragmatic approach that I intend to use to get the strategies. So the aim of this paper is basically to develop coping strategies for survivors. And my objectives for this paper are just two. One, I want to identify recurring themes in the selected histories. And two, I want to interrogate this belief or prevalent beliefs in the histories. Now, histories, as used here, is one of the outcomes of a previous paper, a previous project. We discovered that in 2022, through a British Council funded project, that survivors actually look out for where they can report, they can share their stories. So as part of the product of that research, we developed a website called psv.com.ng, and we have a section there where people can tell their stories. So we divided it into two. We have histories, those will be by females, then you have histories. So the histories are the ones I'm working with. Just a brief outlook of existing literature that are relevant to this work. There is a work by Obagboye in 2021 that investigated gender-based violence in Africa. That project, they looked at Nigeria and Botswana, and it was just about gender-based violence. Also, the work by Lasisi and Ozumba in 2021, they investigated prevalence and patterns of sexual violence among Nigerian adolescents in north-central Nigeria. Another work by Ogunkwito and Ladele 2022 was one about sexual harassment. And so the studies that we looked, even the one we did in 2024 by Oni and Bellet, was also around sexual stereotypes and beliefs. So in all of the studies that we reviewed, there was none that was actually about developing coping strategies for survivors. All of the studies were around investigating what type of sexual violence, sexual harassment are in institutions or wherever they were, working with. So from the foregoing, it is evident that a coping mechanism model for survivors, as examined in this paper, is lacking in the literature. More so, a linguistic study through interventionist pragmatic approach, as done in this paper, pioneers survivor support. So when we talk about interventionist pragmatics, we're looking at how pragmatic tools can be used to address social issues. So it is not is not just a regular language analysis. We're looking at going beyond the language elements that we see. What are the things that we can deduce? What are the things that we can recommend? So it's an interventionist pragmaticist approach. So it is not basically linguistic based, although we'll be using insights from linguistic tools. So the website that we used, anybody can check it online now, psv.com.ng, and if you go to the hash trees, you will find it. So that's where the data that we used are, so we can also relate with it. So for methodology, we purposely selected those hash trees by university students. And then we did a coding of the hash trees by identifying patterns, and then using the patterns, we developed the coping strategies. Now, before I go to data presentation, quickly I'll just make a distinction between three items: sexual violence, sexual harassment, and sexual abuse. Now, sexual violence is like the umbrella term, and that's why I'm using it. But sexual harassment is non-physical. So when you touch somebody without their consent, when you pass sexual comments, everything that is not physical is under sexual harassment. So when we're talking about sexual harassment, most of us might be guilty without knowing that we are harassing even females. Okay, female to female. So it's not always just from male to female or female to male. So a female can also harass another female. So for instance, if you're a woman and you just tap the butt of a woman, it's also sexual harassment. Now, sexual abuse is more violent. It's physical. All right, unlike sexual harassment. So sexual harassment accommodates comments, touching. Sexual harassment is non-physical, but sexual abuse is physical and violent. So, but sexual violence is the umbrella term. So sometimes it might not be that the person was raped or the person was forced into doing something he or she does not want to do. Then I'll explain my method. The coding that I used is Brown and Clark reflexive thematic theory, then with insights from pragmatic tools such as implication and presupposition. Now, in order to do a content analysis using Brown and Clark, you study the data, then you look at the themes in those data sets, then you categorize them according to Clark and Brown. So what I've done is to look at the data, and the themes I found are the ones on the board. Then you can see that we have actually aligned the themes according to the ones that align together. So you have errors relating to essays, parent ignorance, self-blame, fear due to ignorance, non-consensual sex, parents' complacency, and about 5. We identified 5 themes. So if you look at the data analysis, you find the main one, then the subcategories that point to a major thing. So if you look at these, you see self-blame are of 2 types. You have self-doubt and insecurity on one hand. You have uncertainty in another, which is also self-blame. Then lack of knowledge of the toolkits. You have fear due to ignorance also into 2. You have parent complacency into 2. You have parent ignorance. You have parent unknowing acts. Then you have forced consent, power imbalance. Now, when we take each of these items, you don't understand that these things are affecting the way that people who are harassed or who are violated report. So when we talk of implication in pragmatics, we're looking at how you can use linguistic elements to come up, to discover, to derive, to work it out, what people mean by what they say. So it is not explicit. So if somebody had said, I'm not sure of going, it means that the person is uncertain. So you can read in between the lines with the linguistic items that people use. So that's how we came about these themes too. Then presupposition is when you're able to look at the semantic elements of the words as used and the pragmatic import. So these two terms are the ones that I'll be deploying in doing the pragmatic aspect of the word. So they're just meta languages to help drive home the point in our analysis. So self-blame as a major theme. So self-blame is a recurring theme in the survivor's story. So where they internalize the fault for what they experience. Sometimes they self-blame. They may also self-doubt because they are not sure of what is or what is not. So this emotional response often stems from societal stigmatization and lack of proper support system. Let's look at one example. She said, this one, maybe I was just stupid. After everything, one seemed like my fault. So in this instance, the narrator expresses doubt about her stupidity, and she's unsure whether to accept the blame or not. Our choice of the adverb may be to show uncertainty or hesitation, and the verb seemed further validates our existence on accepting the blame of our act or not. So when they are telling the story, there are stories, they are not sure anymore whether they are at fault or they are the violator. Now, self-blame is a constant thing, and when people blame themselves, they are not free. So when you don't know if it is your fault or not, you don't want to go out to tell anyone that I have been violated. Now, the implication of this sentence is that the narrator is still engulfed with guilt. And so when they still hold that guilt, it will be impossible for them to come up to report. Another self-blame is, in another extract, if I spoke up, I wouldn't want those people in the bus to look at me she said in, but that's wrong, so we said with disgust. Should they not judge me? I wore jalabia. You can see the doubts that she was questioning our own outlook, our own, she was just saying that if she report, would they not, but how would they? I'm wearing jalabia. So she felt that because people would look at you, the way you dress, and blame you for it. So she said, why would they blame? But still, she did not report to anyone. She was happy to put out this. So the mention of, after all, I wore jalabia is a defensive mechanism, just to defend herself that whatever you say, it's not true because I wore jalabia. Secondly, I go to another example. I'll leave that to go to another example. Erroneous beliefs and assumptions. Erroneous beliefs or assumptions refer to unfounded biases or beliefs due to ignorance or lack of facts or evidence. In the histories, erroneous beliefs are of two types. Number one, erroneous belief of hearsays. You hear some things and those things are not true, but you still go ahead to project it, and most times that is what happens when they hear that a particular lecturer harasses and they keep going on with that belief without any evidence to do so. And the danger in that is that may make them succumb to such things because of their belief of what they heard about the lecturer. And also, we have erroneous belief about rights. So I'll explain each of these with one example, then I go to another one. I heard once you talk, other lecturers who are his friends will make life hard for you in school till you give up yourself. Another example, I heard he has been like that to other girls. So it's just hearsay. It's not confirmed. There's nothing like he was caught, he was punished, or, and the person still believe that. Then erroneous belief about rights. When you think that, okay, because I am young, I cannot report, or because I'm in 100 level, I cannot. So you don't have belief about even your own ability. It will threaten with my results and I won't be able to do anything. That's wrong. That's an erroneous belief that students usually have, that they can't do anything when they are harassed or violated. Fear due to ignorance. Okay? So sometimes they don't know what to do because they are ignorant of the support system on ground. For instance, in this extract, I don't know what to do or how to speak. I was scared. Another person said, I was in 100 level and I was so scared. So fear is a recurring theme because they don't know what is what. Because of time, forced consent. I'd like to take this, please. I'll give you the example first, then I'll go to the analysis. I fought him, actually, and I hit my head on the bed. I was already very sick, and I felt dizzy and so weak. I just begged him to use a condom and be gentle. He should use a condom. He used a condom, but he wasn't gentle. He choked me till I blacked out. I refuse to put emotions into this. If you look at this, you say, she has accepted now. She said he should use a condom and be gentle. No, that's forced. That's under forced consent because initially she didn't want to do it. And the act of begging also, validates that it was forced because she had to beg. And so forced consent is not when you physically make somebody to accept. It is also when you take advantage of the person's situation. For instance, the person is sick. There is no way she would be able to say anything because of her situation. So forced consent can be generated through different means, and we should also watch out for that. Parents' ignorance and complacency. Parents sometimes act as enablers. In this example, the professor took our child to a particular, the parent took our child to a particular professor and said, you must come and see him when you are free. And so the first day the girl went, the professor grabbed her breast. And so she used avoidance strategy. So we'll move quickly now to other things. So patterns and strategies. I've discussed all of this, yes. Patterns and strategies. So patterns in the story, we have self-blame. So to curb self-blame, we can look at enlightenment and capacity building. For erroneous beliefs and assumptions, we can adopt a situation where we clear misconceptions and build capacity. Fear due to ignorance and forced consent, parents' ignorance, all of these can be handled through enlightenment. The main mechanism that I propose, because we have done this work in a related project where we brought all the survivors together and they were able to tell their stories, and there was a form of bonding. And from that time onward, they were free to tell their stories. And some of them, I think most of the ones we did at that time using storytelling were LASU students. And so after that training workshop session, some of them went to write their stories. So it's like storytelling heals and it helps to get their voices back. So we're advocating that we should look at storytelling, and in the storytelling we do enlightenment and we do capacity building. For tertiary institutions, based on what we have in the data, we have said that in 100 level, we should build confidence by addressing new student concerns, providing toolkits, dispelling myths, and introducing support system. So the usual orientation that we do, exam, blah, 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 okay, they are not just enough, because we see that most times the 100 level students are usually the victims, 100 level students. So we need from that word go to build their confidence and give them toolkits to make sure that you can report, and there are support systems. So at 200 level, we need to make them stay informed through engagement. Engagement means that we need to start asking questions anonymously. We need to, maybe the university can put up a form where students can begin, because at 100 level they may not feel the need to report. But when they get, the more they are in school, they become, you know, bolder to do so. So we should continue. Then 300 level, provide toolkit for self-reporting and reporting incidents. In one of the stories, it was a friend that reported for her friend. So she was not even the victim. And so for 400 and 500 level, I said we should conduct sessions to gather experiences and offer training for reporting incidences. So these are ways by which we think from an interventionist pragmatic approach that we can begin to address issues relating to survivors and other people alike. So in my conclusion, I said that addressing sexual violence requires multifaceted approach that combines advocacy with capacity building training. And by the time we do that, a lot of our students will become bolder and they'll be ready to let it out and you know, be ambassadors of other students. Thank you, everybody.